Let's ask the question, why would a landlord tell a healthcare tenant or buyer that you cannot have representation? The answer is really simple. If the healthcare tenant or buyer is ignorant enough to believe that they don't have the ability to hire professional representation, or if they actually believe the landlord won't work with a broker representing them, that just saved the landlord probably $100,000, $200,000. It's not the commission that's being saved, although that's there. It's the fact that they know, the landlord knows that healthcare provider doesn't know the market. They're not negotiating with multiple other landlords. They've not done their due diligence and research. So a landlord telling a healthcare tenant or buyer, we don't work with brokers or you can't have professional representation, that's a really cheap trick to see if the healthcare provider is ignorant enough to believe it. And if they are, that landlord knows they're going to make an extra $100,000 to $200,000 in this transaction.
If all you have to do as a landlord is just say, no, we don't work with other brokers, we only work with you directly, if that one statement could save you $100,000, wouldn't that be your go-to statement every time a tenant called with a broker? Of course. But you push back a little bit more, or you have the professional representation, and 2-3 conversations in, you've just leveled that playing field.
As a healthcare provider, if you tell the insurance company, no, I'm sorry, I don't accept that level of payment. I only accept this level of payment. And then you could get that level of payment just by making that statement. Would you not do that every single time? Of course you would. I mean, it's funny that you brought this up about the people thinking the commission is what is causing the landlord to do this. The commission is such a small factor. When you look at the actual amount in the total lease, you're typically talking pennies per square foot on the entire lease rate. When a landlord is not looking at, oh, I can save 3 or 4% on them not having a broker. No, it's I can save tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars because they don't have the accurate information to be able to get me to my best rate possible.
It's not the commission that's the issue. No. It's the fact that the landlord doesn't want that tenant having the most accurate market intelligence and market data possible. They don't want the broker involved taking that tenant to the market to show them what their other options are. They don't want the tenant being persuaded to look at options to purchase, actually figuring out what would it look like if you purchased land and developed your own property. What would it look like if you purchased an existing building and built out a brand new space? The landlord doesn't want the tenant having representation because they want to take advantage of the tenant. They want to be as profitable as possible, and they know that if a broker is involved, especially a broker that specializes in representing healthcare tenants and buyers, they're not going to let that healthcare provider get taken advantage of. And for the landlord, that means they either save or lose $100,000 to $200,000. If a healthcare provider was in the position of the landlord and you told the healthcare provider as a landlord, if you just tell them they can't have a broker, you'll make an extra $200,000 in this deal, I think a lot of healthcare providers would try that. They would say, well, I don't want to work with you if you have a broker, I want to work with you directly. They might say it differently, they might not use the same manipulation, but if a healthcare provider was a landlord and you said, hey, if you tell the tenant, the insurance company, or the CPA firm or the attorney, you can't have a broker, and they believed you, and that would allow you to make an extra $100,000, $200,000 on the transaction, you would find a lot of healthcare tenants and buyers who have become landlords trying the same trick. This is not a new thing. This is what landlords have been doing for a very long time.
We actually see that exact thing happen when you've got a healthcare provider who was smart enough to own their own real estate, and now you're in a practice transition situation where they are looking to sell the real estate. How many times have we been a part of transactions where we're brought in by the buyer, they're talking to the seller of the practice, and they're working out the practice details, but nobody's talking about the real estate. So they bring us in, we contact the owner of the real estate, which is a healthcare provider, and he goes, well, no, I'm not going to work with a broker. Wait, you've got a practice broker who you're working with on, so you will hire a practice broker to represent you, to set the price for your practice, to do all that, but you won't allow the buyer to have a broker to help them understand the value of the real estate? And then we get past that, that argument pretty easily as well. But it happens. We're all guilty of it. If I sell something, I want to get the best price possible. Absolutely. I don't want to have to sell it to my friend or family because then I feel guilty about, oh man, I got to, give them a better price. I want to sell it to somebody that I don't know who doesn't know what it's worth. And I say, no, it's worth this right here. And they go, okay, great.
It helps to tell a healthcare provider what the objective of a commercial real estate transaction is. You assume that everyone knows, but it's actually very helpful to say, You realize that landlord's objective is to make as much money as possible. You realize that the value of the property increases dramatically when your lease rate goes up. If a landlord can increase your lease rate by $2 or $3 per square foot, depending on the size of the building, that can increase the value of the property by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Commercial real estate trades on what's called a cap rate. A cap rate is a multiplied factor of the net operating income, or the NOI. When you raise a lease rate a couple dollars per square foot and you put a multiplier on there, you can raise the value of the property by hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars depending on the size of the property. Landlords are motivated to raise lease rates. They are motivated to give the tenant the least amount of concessions possible. They don't want to work with brokers because they want to slam deals through, and they want that healthcare provider just to simply say, I don't want to deal with this. Just go ahead and give me the document and I'll sign it. I want to move on and get back to running my practice.